Colleagues. The next is the Safety, Health and Environment Annual Report. Lilli, this is for you.
Thank you very much. So I'm really pleased to present to you the annual Safety, Health and Environment Report. And although I'm presenting it, it very much reflects the work of Claire's team in terms of security, Fiona's team in terms of the occupational health team as well, because safety and sustainability are absolutely integral pillars to everything we do at TfL, and I think that is illustrated by this report. It's obviously based on the Mayor's transport strategy, which enables us to keep a really strong strategic focus on safety and sustainability. And that's also reflected in our corporate strategy as we're working towards both our Vision Zero ambition for London, where no one is killed or seriously injured on the network, and our goal for net zero operations, decarbonising our transport operations and network, and readying ourselves for that changing climate that we've been talking about. So this report in particular focuses on our performance against longer-term trends and our progress in achieving these strategic objectives for safety and sustainability. And that's obviously in contrast to perhaps the shorter-term performance updates that we bring both to the Safety and Security Panel and the Customer Sustainability and Operations Panel. I think, I hope you'll agree that overall the report indicates that there's been really good progress in a number of areas, and I'll come on to those. We do acknowledge, though, in both safety and sustainability, there is further to go, and further action is required. And your comments earlier today, I think, were really helpful in illustrating where some of those areas are. But it is, as an annual report, an opportunity to celebrate progress on some of our often very innovative interventions that we bring to London every day. So just to turn to a few of those, and starting with safety. And I will start with the focus on Vision Zero. The Mayor's launch of the Vision Zero Action Plan 2 in March was hugely important. And it was important because it represented the joint commitment, not just it's not just our commitment, but also alongside us that day was the London Fire Brigade, the Metropolitan Police. We are obviously representing and strongly backed by the London boroughs as well in terms of achieving this global ambition for London. And the plan is very clear in terms of its 43 evidence-based actions that it sets out. We have a very clear roadmap ahead for us now on this agenda, and we will drive forward on it. I also wanted to spotlight the significant milestone in terms of London's buses. Last year, more than 2,900 buses met that bus safety standard requirement. Buses are the safest way to travel on our roads in London, and the continued rollout of the bus safety standard is now proven to be delivering real safety benefits. We skipped over, I think, that figure that we know that there is a 41% reduced risk and reduced incident of serious incidents on those buses compared to comparable routes. That's a massive achievement from a technology change on those buses, and I think that that's a really important achievement to note in this year. And then moving on to customer safety, I was really proud that we achieved our customer safety scorecard last year, turning around a performance that had been particularly worrying. And we saw reductions in both serious and fatal injuries. And it was really heartening that we were able to move forward with interventions and innovations around platform train interface risk, where we know for example, for our rail customers, some of the most serious incidents occur. So we are now trialling new innovative AI technology on cameras on a number of our stations, as well as looking at how to reduce risk on stairs and escalators. And finally, at the heart of our keeping our network safe, and we've talked about this, is our colleagues. It was very reassuring that in the 25-26 year, there were no fatalities affecting any of our colleagues. And although our ambitious annual target for serious injuries was not met, the longer-term trend is stable and within normal statistical variation. So the emphasis really is on doubling down and driving down those serious injuries as we move into the year ahead. Just turning to other areas of the report, obviously it also looks at the delivery activities across security, well-being and sustainability. And starting with security, we recognise it is and will remain a most important challenge for us. But the overall risk of crime on the network remains very low relative to the scale of journeys made, and we take an absolutely zero-tolerance approach to crime, antisocial behaviour, especially work-related violence to our colleagues and any threat to our customers on the network. And you will have heard that we've made some improvements and have seen a sustained downward trend in fare evasion due to the enforced work through enforcement activity from Sean's team. And in July 2025, we also established our Vulnerable Customers Programme, which is specifically aimed at enhancing our response to protect our most vulnerable customers, which is really important. Just turning to health, we know that when our colleagues are healthy and supported, they enjoy work and it benefits the whole organisation. So in April 2025, we published our wellbeing plan, and this brings a real focus across the organisation to improving wellbeing and is supported by evidence-based interventions. And we've already talked about the TRIM, or the Trauma Risk Management Programme. We were also part of the London-wide Love Your Heart campaign, aiming to help spot early signs of coronary heart disease. And finally, I'll just end by spotlighting some of the sustainability performance achievements. I think last year, if I think about it, I feel like we made real progress in landing some of the things that we'd probably talked about for quite a long time. And the end result of that is that we saw real momentum in terms of reducing carbon emissions, with a 17% reduction in operational carbon emissions. A lot of that was driven by the huge progress from Claire's team in delivering on the zero-emission bus fleet, which reached 2,900 vehicles in the financial year and is now over 3,000. That contributed to a nearly 10% reduction in TfL emissions from buses alone through that work. But there was also other great stuff going on. We decarbonised our first depot at Therapia Lane in Croydon. And there's work ongoing to decarbonise other parts of our operational estate. And finally, in terms of enhancing the green infrastructure and the biodiversity of London, we have continued to expand sustainable drainage through soft landscaping and those kind of installations, with over 9,000 square metres of catchment introduced across last year, and doubling the area of wildflower verges on our strategic road network. So lots to be proud of, much more to do, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks for those additional comments. Lilli, any questions or comments from the team? Okay, I'll do Anurag first. Anurag, over to you. Sorry, Anurag, then Omid, yeah.
Thank you, and fantastic report, Lilli. Lots to be proud of there. Question for you. Funding is constrained, right? And that's a fact of life. And let's say magically you had £50 million to spend. Where would you, in all of these priorities, where would you spend it? And really what I'm trying to understand is, how do we prioritize between all of these different initiatives? It's such a difficult thing to do in a funding environment.
Thanks. Lee, can I take three questions? Three. Okay. Thanks, Anurag. Omid.
We should have synced up beforehand. So there was a velocity question that I had. But first of all, Lilli, let me just say a massive thank you to you, the wider TfL team, the people who put this report together and have done all the work. This is an incredible set of achievements that sit in here. So a real credit to you and your team. I had the velocity question, where would we prioritise? The other thing I was reflecting on was, through the dialogue today, it got me thinking about, so I'm going to declare my age as well. I remember the Green Cross Code. So it just got me thinking about what are we doing and how are we helping our passengers and our users understand their duties? Because there's a lot in here about the work that TfL has done and partners are doing, but our passengers have a set of duties as well in order to make sure that they are contributing to our Vision Zero ambition. So I just wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that and what more we might be able to do there. Thank you.
And Mari.
Thank you very much, and Lilli and team, thank you as always for a really good report, but more importantly, all the work that sits behind it. There's one particular area which has come up regularly at CSOP, which is in relation to slips, trips and falls, which traditionally we think of as an issue for older and disabled people. But I think we increasingly understand their relevance for all of our passengers, particularly on the bus network, and the importance of tackling those for all kinds of reasons, but including giving people confidence to use the buses. Some great initiatives and great ways forward in the report. For example, tackling buggy-related falls, which I, to be honest, never really thought of, because when I was pushing a buggy, they didn't fit on the buses. But also improvements to lighting and to signage, for example, telling people whether there is seat availability upstairs. But there's so many things going on that I'm wondering how we are pulling them together in terms of our learning in relation to what works. All really good initiatives, but what does it tell us as a bigger picture in terms of what we're actually managing to do to tackle that issue? Thank you.
There's only one more, Lilli, which is who's Carolyn online. Can we do that as well? Carolyn, over to you.
Thank you, and likewise, this is an excellent report and shows a huge amount of extremely good work going on. I'm interested in the natural capital accounting and understanding the value of our green space, and hoping that we'll be moving towards having a target perhaps to continue to increase the value of our green assets. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And also the report mentions carbon literacy training that's been rolled out to lots of TfL colleagues, and I wonder whether this could be offered to the board as well. Thank you.
Okay, Lilli, over to you. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you. Really genuinely, I will convey all of those thanks and comments to my team and wider teams across TfL. And I know that there's a lot of people working on this, and that will be really, really welcome. And one of my team members is in the audience, in fact, so she will be listening and conveying for me. I love your question, Anurag. I'm going to spend the 50 million twice. So I'm going to spend it on safety, and then I'll give you a little indication in terms of sustainability. I think we do clearly, under Patrick's good guidance, we have absolute focus on prioritisation and trying to demonstrate what is the best bang for buck. We know, for example, in terms of sustainability, if we had additional investment, where I would probably spend it right now is on further low energy lighting, because we know it has a very good payback. And a direct impact on carbon emissions. We were just doing the analysis on stations. The impacts of the LED implementation that we've been doing has delivered a 35% reduction in energy consumption, a 35% reduction in costs, and an additional near £1 million in reduced maintenance costs, and that's just in a collection of stations. So if you are very limited and you're wanting to progress towards net zero, then you really focus on those ones. And we are always, that kind of information is always driving our decision making. But I would also say that if we think about the extreme weather and our need to adapt to a changing climate, it is changed, we're living in it, then it's actually about embedding that in the systems and the decision-making we make every day. So when we spend £1, we get twice the benefits, and that is very much informing the asset work and the asset thinking that Isabel in Stuart's team is doing. So it's very much embedded in terms of how we're deciding how to do things. And for example, the sustainable drainage is not necessarily an additional cost on projects, it's how we're designing the projects. You either put tarmac back or you don't put tarmac back. So there are some real choices there, and it's about doing things differently, and it isn't always about additional costs. Similarly, in terms of safety, some of this is about doing things differently, but there is, again, a clear prioritisation. And I would just sort of say, we know that reducing speed limits as a system change is probably the most effective way of taking risk out of the system. You're simply, through physics, taking the speed of those vehicles out. So just be reassured that kind of prioritisation is absolutely the heart of what we're doing. Thank you, Omid, again for your thanks. I really liked your question in terms of how we bring Londoners with us to help us on this journey and sort of understanding their duties in terms of whether they're sort of towards sustainability or safety. Certainly in terms of safety, actually, some brilliant work which Emma and Alex's team has done is we have explicitly, first of all, we did customer research, and then we have explicitly changed the tone of some of our customer messaging to make it clear that it is more of a contract. We will provide a safe network, but we need you to behave responsibly when you're on the network. And the post-implementation feedback on that is actually very understanding and accepting. So as long as you get the tone right, people really are happy to understand that. We haven't perhaps used that so much on the environmental theme. It's been more trying to celebrate what we've done. I think our customers are still quite unused to even thinking about us having any angle on this. So we're probably earlier in that journey. In terms of, Mary, in terms of slips, trips and falls, I mean, obviously it's a huge part of what we need to focus on. I can't actually remember exactly what the question was on that one.
We're doing lots of different initiatives. How are we
how we bring them together? Yeah, no, so that actually, so I don't know if you might want to add any of the work that you're doing, Claire, but one of the things that we're really coordinating around, again in that prioritisation way, is there is a platform train interface program, which is looking at everything about reducing risks around there. And it's not just one project, there's many, many projects. There's also a stairs and escalators program with multiple different initiatives, and all of those are being evaluated together. So basically I will be overseeing a sort of full business case analysis of all of those initiatives coming back to me to help sort of say, we know what the particular problems are at the platform interface or on stairs and escalators. How have these different projects worked to actually reduce risk for our customers? So that's all work and train, and it's something we're definitely happy to do briefings on. It will be something, obviously, for the SSP to really get under the skin on. But I don't know if you wanted to add, Claire.
Yeah, thank you. So on the bus safety issue, the Bus Safety Standard 1 was designed as a result of the trials that we did at that point to see what we could do to reduce harm on board buses. And Bus Safety Standard 2, these trials that are mentioned in the report, are how we're looking at what we could change in terms of the standard of buses in that regard. So we'll do the trials, we've got scientists and people evaluating the outcomes, and then that will feed into the evolution of Bus Safety Standard 2. So things like lighting, advising people what's available upstairs. We have people that go upstairs that really shouldn't, and then they get up when they should wait for the bus to stop because they're worried they're going to miss their stop, and we want to prevent all of that happening. So indicators to say whether there are seats available are a really good thing, but it needs to be really robust and work really well. So we're working on that, and once again, back at Millbrook last month, we were taking through all of these different initiatives, and we're using different manufacturers, different operators, different innovators to see what the right solution is, working with disability groups, customer groups to get feedback. So I'd be really happy to take you through that maybe at CSOP at a later date once we've got some feedback on it.
Thank you. It's incredibly exciting, actually, the bus safety. It's incredibly rigorous, the different analysis of that. And finally, Caroline, thank you. And thanks for highlighting the work around accounting for our natural capital. Just remembering, obviously, that we're one of London's largest landowners. So our responsibility to managing the green estate is very significant. So obviously part of that is just understanding what there is, and that is updating that natural capital accounting work. We will be looking at how we can measure the improvement to that, and essentially also how that can inform things like our operational estate planning, so that when we're making decisions about our operational estate, which includes the green estate, we're making the right decisions that are based on that information. We also have other parallel pieces of work, for example, around tree planting and increasing the tree canopy of London, and that is, again, one we're working with the GLA more widely to set targets for and to make sure that we're continuing to push forward on that. And finally, in terms of carbon literacy, Andrea, yes, please.
Yeah, we've provided this training to the board previously, which was probably the previous board, but we'll certainly pick that up and offer that to board members, and it was very well received when we last did it, so we're very happy to pick that up.
Okay, just a couple of observations from me. Firstly, just for those watching this, nobody gets a blank cheque. in the organisation, and if they did, Patrick would have strong words to say, but Patrick will remind me nobody gets to spend it 3 times either, as well. But can I say I'm really taken by Omid's point. Listen, I think there about duties. Clearly, because people are paying for a service, there are some conditions attached to that. So you've got to pay the fare and so forth, so forth. But there are some things that have always been done, and they're accepted. Stand on the right of an escalator, mind the gap, and so forth. But it is worth us thinking about how we can use the behavioural science in terms of stuff that doesn't need to be a condition of using TfL. Stand on the right of the escalator, mind the gap, and so forth. And some things that definitely are a condition. Because I think Londoners should see themselves as not as consumers but as citizens. And a citizen has a 2-way relationship. A consumer is a 1-way relationship. You buy the DAS and that's it. And I think it's really important for us to just think about that as the world-leading integrated transport authority, how we can try and engender a sense of the London spirit via TfL. And so it could be, so just worth taking that away. I think it's really exciting potentially. Okay, we're asked as a board to note the paper, and also Omid and Rab. Thanks for your comments about the team. They do watch this sort of stuff, and the team will feed back the praiseworthy comments to the board members. Is that agreed? Thanks, colleagues. The next item on the